Hey, yo, Chi-Town, listen up. You are now listening to the best sports talk show in the Windy City. Combs and Fitz. Windy City Sports Talk. Give it up for 'em. Let's go. From the burst of the lake, there ain't no mistake. That Combs and Fitz gonna have the greatest of the hot takes.
Okay.
So hop on the board and join the bandwagon.
Ooh.
They gonna keep your feet moving and sometimes how you laughing.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
come on through with the sports talk is what you wish. The West know what's up and don't miss. Fitz gibberish.
I can't do
It
that.
don't matter what team you playing. Well, West gonna burn that flame. So put your team on the map. Guess what? We gonna do the same. From Comiskey to Wrigley.
What?
From Soldier to UC.
Okay.
Windy City Sports is where you need to be. But there is no furthermore. You get the jits. So let's get the rest for Combs and Fitz.
And welcome to Windy City Sports Talk. It's your boy Brandon Combs, along with my guy Ryan Fitzgibbons. What's going on, Fitzy?
What's happening, Combs?
I don't know,
Busy
but all of
weekend.
our stuff just like everything switched. I've got no background. I don't know what the hell is going on.
Darkness. We are in the darkness. All of our sports teams, you might as well just keep it black. Fade, as Jeff Joniak still says, fade to black. Fade to black on baseball. I mean, actually, the Sox would have us over a 600 win percentage if they played the Colorado Rockies 162 games a year. I think the Sox would actually be a good team if they did that. They almost swept them.
Almost swept them. They had a good weekend. The Chicago Scrubs did not.
Ugh.
They were. I mean, look, so much to talk about there. We're going to talk Cubs. We're going to talk Sox. Then we're going to get to the good stuff. We're going to talk about the Blackhawks doing a lot of stuff in free agency.
Heck yeah.
They had a great draft. We have a fantastic interview lined up. Actually, it's already been pre-recorded with Angela from the Hockey Princess podcast. She does a fantastic job over there. All the links are in the bio, so definitely go ahead and check her out. They drop one a week, I believe she says at some point in the interview. They do one a week. She broke down the NHL draft. It's her and her dad. It's a father-daughter podcast. So
cool. I saw it. Yeah, so cool.
So lots of good stuff. And so definitely check them out. We'll air that interview here in a little while. And we're going to talk AFC East today. We're going to break down each division week by week. We're going to break down a division. We're going to start out east in the AFC. And you guys might be surprised at who I have winning this division. Or maybe you won't be.
Might be surprised by who I have winning this division. The New England. No.
But yeah, we'll get to all of that stuff. Definitely, if you guys are out there watching, you click like, click share, click subscribe, do all of that stuff. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, tell everybody you need to tell to come check out Combs and Fitz Windy City Sports Talk. We are doing great things. May have some maybe some sponsors here in the near future. May have some supreme guests here in the near future. We might be able to get even your favorite Bob Nightingale on the show.
Really?
So you could maybe
You're gonna have to strap me down.
The first thing we're gonna do when Bob Nightingale comes on, I'm gonna play the clip about you talking about him sitting in Jerry's lap. That's the first thing I'm playing if Bob Nightingale decides to come on.
It's gonna be
And I'm not even gonna tell him about it. And then I'm gonna lose my job at Odyssey.
All right.
But no, look, it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got a lot of good stuff planned. So definitely check us out. Jeremiah says, I only share or like if it's a political post. It sounds about right. Except for the fact that Jeremiah shares the show every week. He's one of the few that shares the show and likes the show every single week. So thank you, Jeremiah.
And he got pissed off when I shared the video that the prediction that the Bears were going to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
I forget the show, the podcast /show that it came from, but
Jeremiah says, I have to leave the room if you guys have Nightingale.
Who wouldn't?
Yes. So we know Jeremiah's out there. Who else is out there? Chime in the chat. Let us know that you're here. Say hi. Say what's up. Let us know you're listening. Don't be scared.
What are you doing for the 4th? Tell us what you're doing for the 4th in the chat.
So,
anything crazy?
Yeah. Let us know what your week consists of over here. What you guys got planned. I've got work, and work planned, and I know Fitz, he's got work, and drinking planned.
America, fuck yeah!
America.
That is amazing. I didn't even see that in the show when I was going through the videos. That's awesome.
That's the whole point.
That is awesome. But no, let's get down to it, right? The White Sox, the Cubs. Mike Mudgeon says beers, fireworks, and barbecue. What's going on, Mike Mudgeon? How we doing?
About
Yeah,
America, fuck yeah!
beers and barbecue and fireworks.
Fuck yeah! No, that's a great.
It's such a great movie. I watched on Memorial Day in honor of America, all our fallen soldiers. And no, I did that wrong, didn't I?
Yeah, a little bit. You should have watched it on Election Day. That's when you should watch that one.
Yeah, exactly. or the debate. If anybody's wondering how the debate went,
I still have not. I have not watched the debate. I have not seen any sort of. I haven't even seen clips of it. If I see if I'm scrolling past and there's a clip, I just keep scrolling because I don't care. It's two idiots talking about idiot shit.
Do you want me to give you the 10-second trailer? I did not rape. I don't know. I did not sleep with that woman.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh God. At any rate, Cubs, White Sox. Look, let's start with the White Sox, man. The White Sox are probably they're actually the more intriguing story, which we probably wouldn't have thought heading into July 1st that the White Sox would be the more intriguing story around these parts, but they definitely are. Hey, Doubting Thomas, at least Fitz isn't dressed for the nightclub this week. What's going on, Doubting Thomas? We missed you at the Friends for Fitz this weekend. You weren't there. We did have a couple of listeners there. I got to meet Megan TV for the first time. I gotta tell you, I did not know. I'm glad my wife wasn't there because Megan TV was hot.
Wow.
I mean,
I don't know what to. I guess.
I mean, I now I know why Doubting Thomas was always on his way to her house whenever he's on the show.
Can you stop yelling at me?
Wrong one.
Because I'm prepared to fuck somebody up. So
it was Doubting Thomas's comments.
I mean,
unbelievable. Way too far.
We talked a lot. She gave me a couple of hugs.
What is going on?
Great time on Saturday.
Thanks, John. Johnny had a good time.
It was a fantastic time. It was a lot of fun, a lot of laughs.
His beard even had a good time.
Yeah. Lots of stories, lots of dude. I mean, let's talk about Friends for Fitz before we get into Cubs and Sox, because Friends for Fitz, look, I knew that it was something that was put together and that I knew it was going to be a good time. I didn't realize how many people were actually going to be there.
Insane.
It was at least 1,000 people, if not more than 1,000 people,
and it was almost 1,500 people.
Holy! I mean, it was packed. It was a great time. Megan TV says, "Great to meet you, Combs. Great to meet you as well. The next ex Mrs. Combs."
I don't know why the clapping. I guess I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, you've always wanted a cool brother-in-law. Now you might be able to get one. That's what you said on Saturday night.
False start. Offense. The entire offensive line.
Offside, sir. Offsides. Yeah, but it was a great event. Yeah, it was for my cousin Bill. That's about a year and a half ago. And just knew a lot of people, was good to a lot of people, and was sick for a very long time. So this is all the proceeds are going to a needy family. And we're going to do it every year. So maybe if you couldn't make it this past year, make it next year. It was so much fun. Music, dancing, groping, I guess. You and I were talking, both of us at the same time. We were like, we should have done a show here. Yeah.
Should have done the show here.
Just to start off, we could have done while people are walking in,
Yeah.
But
just half hour, 45 minutes on stage doing a show, talking some sports, yelling at each other.
Yes.
It's what we were doing without microphones anyway the whole time.
Yeah.
So, but no, it was a fantastic time. Friends for Fitz. It was an amazing event. Lots of money raised and all the proceeds went to a family that is dealing with the same stuff that Bill dealt with, right?
Yep. Yeah. That has somebody that just bad luck,
Yeah.
I mean, that has a lot to do with your health too. Unfortunately, you can't control some things there, and quite a bit of money. Awesome. I don't know what the end tally was, but and when you got a neighborhood like that on the south side, it's a lot of people.
It's awesome.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah. For all the flack and all the news headlines and all the stuff that the city of Chicago gets on a national basis, there needs to be more stories and more news headlines on events like that, because just people coming together, an entire neighborhood of people, the entire south. It seemed like the entire south side of the city was there.
Yeah.
But at least, a vast majority of the Mount Greenwood neighborhood was there, and it was just a fantastic time.
I'm guessing the Sox got less people, but
most likely.
Rockies in town.
The Sox are going to get even less, though, if all of these trade rumors are true, right? Should Garrett Crochet?
I mean, that one, I guess. I mean, but they have 2 more years of control. They tried to, this is what they've done in years past, where they'll bring a guy in and be like, how about you stay for 4 years and we give you a bunch more money and now you're rich. Because he's only getting $800,000 this year, which used to be a lot of money, but now with inflation and everything else isn't. And yeah, you're rich, but you're here for 4 years now until you can get your big contract if you play well. And I guess he turned it down. So now it's like we have to trade him, even though he's got 2 years left. I mean, they can trade him at next year's deadline, but it really would spell that, hey, there's no way we're going to be good anytime soon, which was not what this is what we thought. It's what I thought it would be, but not what this GM regime was. It was supposed to turn things around quickly.
Yeah.
And doesn't look like they think it's going to turn around anytime soon after who is the leader in strikeouts right now.
Alex Dreyer joins the show. What's going on, Alex? He says more control brings you a bigger return, which is true. I mean, it's true, but at some point you've got to build around somebody, right? At some point the White Sox it's one of those things where the White Sox are stuck. And we said this last year. I think we said it 2 years ago when we first started this show. White Sox, the organization, not even just the fan. Well, the fan base is stuck in it with them. The White Sox are stuck in a black hole right now until Jerry Reinsdorf sells this team. And until they get a GM that knows what the hell he's doing, the White Sox are going to be stuck in a black hole. They're going to be constantly rebuilding, because what are you trade? So once you trade Crochet and once you trade possibly Luis Robert, once you trade Eric Fetty, what's left on this team? And then what do you do with the 2 or 3 pieces that you bring up? It's not like they've got an entire team in the farm system waiting to come up to be good.
They don't. They have some good pieces. They have some really good pieces. It's a very top heavy farm system. That's above average now that they've made all these deals. Jerry probably pulled a shiny quarter from behind his ear. What a fucking joke. It's true. I mean, it is kind of a joke. And we talk about innovation on this show all the time and who is innovating within these leagues. And obviously the White Sox haven't in years. They used to actually somewhat innovate on the pitching side years ago. We're talking 2 decades ago, or even 6-7 years ago. You could pretty much count on them to have pretty good starting pitching, but now that they don't innovate anything. There's nothing new. There's nothing young. There's no new ideas here. There's nothing new that's going to happen. And you're right. Until he sells the fucking team, this is what we are. We're in a purgatory. I mean, we're in a Catholic neighborhood on Saturday. So yeah, I think everybody knows what purgatory means. It's in between heaven and hell, but we're sort of still touching hell at the same time.
And they're stuck there for a very long time. And even after a new owner comes along, and even after a new GM comes along, it's going to take them. It's going to be like when the Ricketts purchased the Cubs and then hired Theo Epstein, and then the Cubs got good 3 or 4 years later, because that's what the turnaround is going to be. So until then, until this team sells, until they hire a GM that knows what the hell they're doing, I mean, the White Sox, you would say, are probably at the very least 8 to 10 years from being relevant right now, because unless Jerry somehow kicks the bucket in this offseason or something, but even then you still have to go through the sale process.
Yeah, I mean, and who's going to pick them up? Are they going to have to move out? And Alex does make a good point, but having a guy for a year and a half and having a guy for 2 years, I don't know how big that is. And at least you get to assess the team next year. It depends what they're getting for Garrett Crochet. Now, we were talking before the show, the National League is going to want Garrett Crochet, and all you have to do is look at the standings to find out why. The Philadelphia Phillies are just killing everybody. Now they've had a little slow spurt in there, but really, and they're predominantly left-handed. You got Schwarber in there. You got Harper in there.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Crochet's coming off Tommy John, correct?
Well, that was 2 years ago now. So
yeah, so two years off Tommy John. Eric Fetty, same thing. Yeah, and now the question
played last year, obviously in Korea. We talked about it before, yeah.
But the question then becomes, what are teams going to be willing to really give you in return? Do you think they're going to give you a haul in return for Garrett Crochet, or do you think that they're going to give you a piece? You know what I mean? Because it's like those are two totally different stories. And for two pitchers, which are your two best pitchers in Fetty and Crochet, what are people really like? What are you really going to get in return? It's not going to be something, in my opinion, not going to be something that's franchise altering.
I know what from what the articles I've read, the Dodgers already tried to go for him and it wasn't good enough. They want a team's top prospect. They do for Crochet. I don't know what they're asking for Fetty. Right now, if we talked a month ago, I was still thinking Fetty was the bigger trade chip.
Yeah.
When I heard they were shopping Benintendi, I almost slammed on the brakes to launch myself to the windshield. Who the fuck wants that? That's true. But I mean, I thought Fetty was more, because Fetty has built up the innings over his career, and he had 170 innings last year in South Korea, so he can handle the workload. The guy's,
but hasn't Crochet already reached his innings limit?
Well, he's never pitched this many innings before in his career. No, he has not. They said that they're going to start slowing him down, pitching less innings, and then he pitches 7 innings on just yesterday, which I watched most of the game. I mean, he's number 2 in WAR, and he's the leading strikeout pitcher in the league, though. So I don't know what teams think that they're going to get out of him. Maybe that's the storyline. I do know this: there has been a shift in baseball lately where you don't really get the best prospect from a team anymore for a proven guy. You really don't. So I don't know where that goes. I do know the National League, it just pumps it up because no one wants to face that lineup without a lefty. Maybe you have Crochet in the bullpen. Yeah. And you just bring him in the later innings against the Phillies. No one wants to face that without a really good left-hander. No one wants to face that team.
Yeah, and we're gonna see exactly what they get. I mean, as it comes closer, you'll start to see what teams fall fall out of the race for crochet and which teams are hot and heavy into the race for crochet. I mean, I would expect the Padres to be hot and heavy in crochet, the Dodgers probably because they're in on everybody. You're probably looking at maybe the Milwaukee Brewers trying to look at crochet, maybe even the Cincinnati Reds trying to make a move.
Jeremiah says 15 teams, and he can't wait to get the next Yohan Moncada.
Yeah.
And it pisses me off, too. I hate talking about this shit.
Yeah.
I hate how much where prospects mean more, and I know I just cut you off.
No, you're good.
On Saturday, too. We talk about prospects more in this speculation era of sports watching and consuming, where that's all we talk about is, this prospect, that, Caleb Williams, screw Justin Fields. Let's get the next QB in here, the next hot thing. And sometimes those guys don't pan out. So
and you're not getting major league ready talent though for these guys. I mean, that's not. And these teams that are buying, they're not ready to give you a major league ready talent because they're competing. They're winner. Like the Cardinals might be in on crochet. You're talking about the Mets might be in on crochet with the streak that they've been on, the run they went on before they ran into Houston. But it's one of those things where you look at these teams and then you have to start looking at their farm systems. All right, what are you really going to get in return? You're not getting. I don't even think you're not getting a top 5 prospect from any team for crochet. I wouldn't think, or Fetty. I wouldn't think you're getting that. I mean, maybe because he's a lefty, but at the same time, you're a lefty that is coming off of Tommy John surgery and has already has pitched more innings than he's ever pitched before. And we don't know what's coming after this. So that's why for me, I don't know if the return is going to get you much, and which is why I'm kind of surprised that they're going to try to move crochet.
That's why. I mean, and they're saying they want the top prospect from a team at least.
It's not happening.
Get it? Then you wait. That's why I wait until next July.
Yeah, but you would wait. I would wait. Jeremiah, Alex Dreyer, Megan TV, John Fitzgibbons. We're all smart. We would wait, but you don't have anybody in the White Sox front office that is smart and is capable of making smart decisions. And they've shown that over the course of the last, 5 to 10 years. They don't have anybody that is capable of making a smart decision. And you're going to end up getting crochet for a pitching machine.
Alex Dreyer says it's not innings anymore. It's pitches thrown in stressful innings, and you're not getting a whole lot of stressful innings on the south side right now of Chicago.
Well, it depends on how you look at it. Maybe they're all stressful because you're not allowed to give up any runs.
Well, that's true. Worst offense in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Jeremiah Murray seems to think you're getting a top prospect.
I just don't think you are. I mean, look, I don't. Unless you find a team, maybe a team like the St. Louis Cardinals, who generally, to be honest with you, don't make bad moves. They're not an organization. As much as I can't stand them, and as much as I hate that organization, and I hate that uniform and everything it represents, they don't make bad decisions. They just don't. They're a really good run organization. I mean. The Reds, maybe you could fleece. You're going to have to fleece somebody on this because, again,
I think it's got to be one of those more top teams. Like maybe that's maybe why the Dodgers sound so good because, I mean, do they really need some of the top prospects they have? They're already a pretty good team.
And but not only that, then what is Crochet really adding to that team? If they're already that good, how much better does Crochet really make them?
If they need left-handed pitching and they think they're actually going to face the Phillies in the playoffs. I mean, other teams do have left-handed hitting, but that's why I'm guessing they're looking mostly in the National League to find someone who's desperate, wants to win a championship. But
I mean,
at least in my mind, that's where my head goes.
I think it's going to run into one of those teams that are sitting in second place, like the San Diego Padres or the St. Louis Cardinals. One of these teams that, or you know what, if it is a front runner, the team that I could see him going to, you just mentioned it, would be the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies adding Crochet, they're a team that's got a really nice farm system. I believe top 10 farm system right now. The Philadelphia Phillies, and they're to me, honestly, they're the best team in baseball. I know they just lost Harper and Schwarber on the same day the other day, but it's a hamstring injury and a tweak.
Yeah, those aren't big injuries.
No, you'll be fine. And you're so far up over the Braves right now, 8.5 games up on the Braves. You could even sit Harper for an extra week after he's healthy and still be okay. You have the luxury of taking your time with them. They're also another team that doesn't make a whole lot of stupid decisions front office wise.
At least lately they haven't. They went through a slow period there, but at least lately they haven't. I mean, what about the Brewers?
The Brewers are, yeah.
And the White Sox Padres was a good call out by you because the White Sox know the Padres minor league system. They just had a deal with them for Dylan Cease.
Yeah.
With Dylan Cease. So then, 40% of the starting rotation for the Sox is going to be playing in San Diego, which will be weird. But San Diego did not give away, I don't think, one of their top 3 prospects. I mean, Drew Thorpe was a highly thought of prospect who had another good game the other day. So, I mean, the Padres would still have something in the tank, and they're 4 games above 500 right now.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at teams like, I guess I don't know if the Giants would make that move. Would the Braves try to make that move?
Why not in that division? They sort of would have to at this point. I mean, they're 10 games over 500. They haven't been bad.
They've also lost Acuna for the year. They've also lost Michael Harris II for an extended period of time. I mean, it's at some point too, you have to actually look and be like, hey, if we add this guy, are you doing that if you're a contender? Are you looking at it and be like, look, if you're the Dodgers, right now we're a really damn good team and we expect to at least be in the NLCS. Yeah. If we add Garrett Crochet, do we expect to win the World Series? And if the answer is Garrett Crochet does not make us that team, you can't add him. Same thing with when you look at the Padres or the Phillies. But when you look at the Brewers or the Cardinals, they have to get in and then they have to know that they can compete. They're going to have to add pieces like this. That's why I think a second place team might make a little bit more sense.
It's possible, but you do have him for 2 more years.
Yeah.
You know, which helps. You have him through 2026. Makes you a pretty good team for a while too, especially if you have young players. Braves do have a lot of young talent. So
I think Fetty to the Reds, or Fetty to the Cardinals is probably the move there more than Crochet is. I think if I had to put money on it now, if you were asking me, hey, where do you think Garrett Crochet is going? My money would be on the Padres.
I'm going to stick with the Dodgers just because they're nuts, man. They still have a great farm system, and bringing him there, that'll be. And they've had trouble getting over the hump too.
Jeremiah wants to know if we got any more of those oft injured prospects that get stuck in nets on the north side.
Oh boy, I mean, good transition.
We probably do have a lot of those, but at the same time, there's a lot of our major league roster that's going to be up for grabs. And the rumor today is that the Cubs are looking at shopping Nico Horner, and that one hurts.
Yeah,
I'm a Nico Horner guy, and that to me personally, if Nico Horner is on the market, I would think that everybody's on the market. Maybe minus Shota Imanaga.
Yeah. Shota's. Everybody. I mean,
it's just got to be that way. Like if you're doing that, if you're saying, you know what, we can't do it with the guys that we thought we could do it with, so we're gonna start again. God, I hate the sound of that.
Yeah, again.
Yeah, I know, Jeremiah. I know you said that a couple weeks ago, and I still don't like the idea. I still don't agree with you. I still don't like the idea. Jeremiah Murray now needs Tommy John from patting himself on the back. But I just don't like the idea. But at the same time, like I'm more looking at guys like I've said this for a while now. Ian Happ. Why are you more apt to move Nico Horner than Ian Happ? Why are you more apt to move? I hear a lot of people talking about Chris Morrell could go to a contender, as a DH.
But how many more years do you have on a Chris Morrell? Isn't he on his rookie contract?
Yeah, Chris Morrell's probably got another four years or so.
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, he's a guy who can't play a position, and he's batting 200.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that, Jed did a disservice last year when he rested his laurels on this roster. He rested his laurels on a 36-year-old catcher running it back again, doing something he had only done once in his career, and that was last year. And you're like, oh, he could do that again. You rested your laurels on a bullpen that wasn't even that great last year, by your own admission.
Yeah,
last
May
year.
23rd of last year. I read the quote last week.
Yeah.
And it was the same quote he could say today.
and the only thing that you did was go out and get Hector Neris, who's been a complete failure. And you did that. No, you also rested your laurels on a closer who had a phenomenal year, but it's a failed starter.
Yeah.
And who pitches to contact.
Yeah, and only had 20 saves.
Yeah. And so for me, like the other day, it's so frustrating sometimes listening to Jed talk, because I know that Jed is just giving the politically correct answer. I know Jed is just giving you what he has to say. But the things that Jed has to say, it makes him sound stupid. And it makes it sound to the point where I question why you still have a job. Because when you are saying stuff like, yeah, we've been in a slump. I'm just as frustrated as the fans. 2 weeks turned into a month, turned into 6 weeks, turned into 8 weeks. Jed, who's the one person that can change that? Who's the one person that can go and make a move to improve this team? You're that guy.
Early, and when he was saying that no one's going to make trades this early. Well, yes. The Padres did.
The Padres did, and then somebody else, I forget who else. Somebody else just made a trade the other day, and I was like, huh.
He seems like where, like I said a few weeks ago, where Theo Epstein's more like the Dombrowski, where the guy who was with Detroit when they got Miguel Cabrera, and they had all those Detroit years where they played pretty well, even went to a World Series and lost to a bad Cardinals team. And then he came to the Boston Red Sox and actually won a World Series with the Boston Red Sox. He's the one that made the Chris Sale trade with the Boston Red Sox. He pulls the trigger. He has big contracts. He takes chances. Jed Hoyer seems like a guy who just does not take enough swings. He brought in some good talent. Hey, Seiya Suzuki's been a good player when I thought that wasn't going to be possible. Imanaga's been really good. Now the weather's warmed a little bit and he pitches to contact, but he could be a great 2 or 3 for sure on your team. And there was a chance that could have gone wrong. So he has taken some chance, but he hasn't made those big swings that won Texas the World Series, that might win the Phillies the World Series this year. Those Bryce Harper, they took a chance on Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos. Best team in baseball right now. He just doesn't make a lot of those big swings.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're going to improve this ball club, everybody that watches baseball knows what the low points are for this roster. They know what needs to be changed. You need a legitimate big bat in the middle of this lineup. You need a legitimate closer. You need maybe another arm on the back end of the bullpen. You need all of these things, because when you have something that solidifies a spot, it starts making everybody around them a little bit better. And they don't have that right now. Justin Steele the other day goes off, walking off the mound.
Yeah,
telling the team to wake the fuck up as he's screaming it as he's leaving the mound. They come back, they win that game. They come out the next day, Nico Horner leads off with a home run. They come out the next day and Kyle Hendricks throws 2 or 3 really good innings, and then just implosions. Ian Happ misses a ball out in left field by like, 5 feet. I don't know what he was doing. He looked like he was going to try to rob it over the wall for a home run. It landed 4 feet to his left. And then, I mean, the wheels just fell off. A grand slam pretty much sealed the deal there in that same inning. It opened the floodgates for a 7-run inning. And you're like, oh, okay. So basically, this is what this team is. I mean, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard pill to swallow, especially with all the shit we've gone through in this town, that this team is this bad to where it's kind of basically over. And yes, they're still in it in the wild card, but you got about 500 teams in between you and first place at this point. That's what makes the wild card so bad.
I'm calling it now, Combs. You'll be very happy next year. This is all on a very structured timeline that will culminate when nearly $100 million comes off the books next year.
Where's the $100 million coming off? I mean, Bellinger's probably going to be okay with his option, right?
If they're making trades, and all of this other stuff, they got some players that they're still paying that come off the books. There's a lot of stuff there that I mean, they do get some money that comes off the books, but I don't know at this point if I trust Jed enough to spend it in the right places. That's my problem. If you're telling me he's going to come out with $100 million off the books and he's going to go out and he's going to spend some money, I mean, are you talking Juan Soto? Then I might be happy. If you're talking Juan Soto, but other than that, like if you're not getting that caliber of player, I don't know who you're talking. And not only that, but I don't necessarily care about the $100 million come off the books. I care about the product that you put on the field. And every big contract that this regime has given has been bad.
And that's a good analogy, for lack of a better word. Juan Soto, he was available this year. They could have traded for him this year.
Well, you could trade him for this year, but he's a free agent at the end of the year, which is a reason why a lot of teams stayed away from him, which is why the Yankees weren't afraid to go do it, because that's what the Yankees do, which is why, look, when you talk about being the Tampa Bay Rays model, I say be the Yankee model. Don't be afraid. So what? If he comes here for 1 year, if he puts you in contention to win a World Series, who cares?
I disagree with Jeremiah here. I think a combined Cubs and Sox roster could win a division.
No.
Win that NL? Yeah, I think so.
No.
Yeah, you throw. Yeah.
No. They couldn't.
They could.
You know what's funny? When you talk about that, if you combine the Cubs and Sox roster, let's go position by position. The best player on that roster would come off the Sox, and that would be Luis Robert. He's the only player on the combined 2 starting lineups. He is the only player that you look at that you can say is probably a top 5 to 10 player at his position right now.
Yeah, and then you have Fetty and Crochet filling out the starting rotation.
Yeah, but we still have both of these bullpens combined. So unless Fetty and Crochet and Shota and Steele are all pitching shutout complete games,
it's going to be tough.
It's going to be bad. And both of these offenses they're the 2 worst offenses. They're the 2 worst bullpens in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see the Cubs offense being this bad. I never saw them as a juggernaut. I always thought they needed that big bat in there. I just didn't think they had it. I think it's too early to have Morel be that bat. Maybe he'll be that one day, but I just don't think they had it. But I still thought that they could at least be mediocre to above average. And
I don't know. I don't see that with this team. With these 2 teams, I would still say that the Brewers are better. I would still say the Guardians are better, and I would still say the Twins are better.
The Twins?
Yeah.
How dare you, sir?
I'm just telling you.
I had Detroit winning that division.
Are you ready for Fitz gibberish?
All right, let's go. It's Fitz gibberish. It's a diatribe, a conspiracy theory, in an island in the middle of unapologetic and, oh yes, sometimes inaccurate sports talk. We've been good today, though. I don't remember anything. I didn't misremember anything. I wasn't the president. I did not rape anybody. I did not have sex with a porn star. Anyway, where I went.
What just happened?
I quit my quick 10-second trailer of the debate.
A bullshit?
Last week, we talked about where baseball owners are going to find new and interesting ways to separate money from their fans' wallets to their own war chests. One way is to trade away everybody. And since the last program, if that's what you want to call this, that's another disturbing trend was already emerging right under our noses. And it wasn't cocaine. Anyway, like a 19th century sex worker. I don't know what I'm doing. Like a 19th century sex worker who slips her hands into a fat rich guy's petticoat. The owners of baseball have a plan to slip their greasy fingers into your pockets. And if you think this Fitz gibberish already sounds like a Diane Steele novel with Fabio on the cover, buckle up, Buttercup, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. Hannah Kaiser from Yahoo Sports wrote in her article how the collapse of regional sports networks are affecting MLB economics now and into the future. Points out long, lucrative regional sport networks are collapsing under the shift of television viewing away from mass cable packages. Yes, people are cutting the cord. She went on to talk about Diamond Sports Group, or DSG as it's known. Almost a year ago, she says, and I quote, almost a year ago, forced the issue to the forefront of baseball world. DSG, a subsidiary of Sinclair that owns Bally Sports Network, was responsible for the broadcast of 14 MLB teams. Last summer, they stopped paying the rights fees to 2 of them, the San Diego Padres and Arizona Diamondbacks, forcing MLB to step in and take over those broadcasts with almost no notice. And the MLB is anything but nimble. Comcast recently blacked out 15 regional sports networks under the Bally Sports brand. It's not just you, Jeremiah, putting up a barrier to many fans' ability to watch their favorite teams. So you cannot default on a student debt loan in this country. That is crippling your progress into the middle class. But DSG can just stop broadcasting games, which is a part of their contract, without notice. Wish I could say that this wasn't a local problem, but it very much is becoming a local problem. You want rich, corrupt assets fucking the working class over, you must shield your eyes in partial awe from the shining, white-hot glow that is Chicago sports. Crane Kenny, yes, that Crane Kenny, head of business operations for the Cubs, and the only transplant from the Tribune era, talked about what one broadcaster is calling a bloodbath. I wish the clock was turned back to 2011, Kenny said, in that regard. He said it on the Bernstein and Holmes show, which makes whatever. Because the market is in turmoil, you've got half the RSNs in bankruptcy being rejected in their rights agreements. You got wonderful markets like Atlanta. Like if you're a Comcast subscriber in Atlanta right now, you can't watch the Braves today, which I didn't know. If you're a Comcast subscriber in Milwaukee, hello, Aaron Ludwig, or near Milwaukee, you can't watch the Brewers today. If you're a Comcast subscriber in Detroit, another great baseball market, you can't watch the Tigers. They've been dropped. Jerry is parting with Comcast here. They're dropping those 3 teams, White Sox, Bulls, Blackhawks. So Comcast has made it pretty clear that they are exiting the sports market. Crane. You had me there for a second until you brought up the name Jerry Reinsdorf. And there's a picture of Crane who looks like one of Larry Bird's loser sons who couldn't play basketball, so he pawned one of Daddy's rings for crack. And that was put in a cushy position with no experience. He does look like that Larry Bird. I did start talking about Jerry Reinsdorf when you're trying to make an economic point is like talking about the Netflix series Jeffrey Dahmer during a barbecue, Crane Kenny. Of course, Ryan Storff is rapidly putting together a channel here in Chicago with like I said, the Blackhawks, Bulls, and the White Sox. But that's not the worst of it, because Rob Manfred, who talks like a guy who's trying to lure your daughter back to his place for a drink,
Whoa.
had this to say at last year's World Series, because he cannot keep his mouth shut. So it's an important part of our future. It doesn't have today the same robust economics, and he's talking about the cable package, that the cable bundle provided as an exclusive source of distribution. But my own view of the world is we're going to have the distribution, maybe smaller going forward. We're going to put with it that digital option that gives people more flexibility, more reach, and better fans. And there it is. Pay no attention to the dirty motherfucker behind the curtain. They're going to open up games digitally for you. Isn't that so kind of them? Oh, they won't be free either. No, you are going to pay. And soon enough, you'll be paying $10, $20, or possibly even $30 a month to watch your team. How nice of them. Do you see what is happening here? Don't tell me there isn't collusion going on where the owners are getting just what they want by cutting out the middleman. Cable. George Carlin once said, you don't need a conspiracy when interests converge. Tell them what they get if they act right now, George.
And if you act now, we'll include an extra added free complimentary bonus gift, a classic deluxe custom designer luxury prestige high quality premium select gourmet combination key ring magnifying glass and garden hose in a genuine imitation leather style carrying case with authentic vinyl trim. Yours for the asking, no purchase necessary. It's our way of saying thank you. Actually, it's our way of saying, bend over just a little bit farther so we can stick this big advertising dick up your ass a little bit deeper. A little bit deeper. A little bit deeper.
Never read that in a steel novel with Fabio on the cover. And that's Fitz gibberish, folks. Combs.
Look, we've said for a very long time, baseball is the worst marketed sport of all the major sports. They are terrible at what they do. I don't understand. It's almost unbelievably bad in their marketing. It seems to get funnier and funnier every single year. Not only is their marketing bad, but it's so bad that this year's home run derby has now been limited to less home runs. It's the home run derby. And it has now been limited to less home runs. They have changed the rules for the home run derby. The home run derby now, instead of being, it was bracketed, and you'd play against somebody, and then if you beat them, you moved on, quarterfinals, semifinals, all that stuff. Now it's just it's kind of old, where it goes back to just the top 8 hitters, top 4 home run numbers advance.
Jesus, I didn't even read this.
But now it's 3-minute rounds, 40 pitches with 1 timeout, 3 bonus outs. Every 425-foot home run or more earns a 4th bonus out.
Isn't
so
it needlessly complex?
We were seeing rounds of 46, 47 home runs by guys like Pete Alonso and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and some of these guys are exciting to watch. And now you're maxed out at 40 pitches. 3 outs for 40 pitches. It is what it is. I do know that some players were complaining about it being taxing and you're risking injury doing the home run derby, changes your swing, changes your approach, all that other yada, yada, yada bullshit. that wasn't a problem up until about 10 years ago. And now all of a sudden, all these whiny ass players get in there and it's like, oh, well, I could get hurt doing this. Well, you know what? You know who never complained about getting hurt and then not being able to hit home runs after the home run derby? Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa. Those guys never complained about doing that. Now, granted, they got the bonuses of juicing and getting over injuries a little bit quicker than they do today, but they never complained. They went out there and they did it, and they did it year after year after year after year, and it was the best. The Major League Baseball All-Star Weekend still to this day has the best All-Star Weekend, but if you keep playing with it, it's going to be just like the rest of them, where it doesn't matter and nobody watches.
Yeah, no, it is. And I don't know if we're like kind of cresting over the golden age of sports viewing in this country. I don't know if we're there yet, but I think we're close. Just because, like I've said before, there's so many screens in people's houses. So who's going to watch anymore? And if you're changing the home run derby, if you're changing baseball to appease just casual fans and get them to watch, you're in trouble already.
Yeah.
Megan TV, when it's hard to watch, nobody cares. Yeah, it's true.
Donnie Thomas says you forgot Ryan Sandberg in that list of juicers.
Oh boy. He said he wasn't a juicer.
Because I'm prepared to fuck somebody up. So
unbelievable.
At least.
Unbelievable. Anyway, it's bad. I mean, it's never going to get better until they get somebody in the front offices that actually cares about the game, but they'll never get that because the guy who runs the front offices is the guy who works for the owners, and the guy who works for the owners is going to care about one thing, and that's money. That's just how it is. It's how it's going to go, and it's going to continue to be that way, and the game just keeps lasting because it's the greatest game ever invented, and it just keeps standing the test of time. And I think it'll continue to do so.
I agree with that.
Find out
when your regional channels are going out, and now you're going to have people paying for baseball, and I think it's going to happen in other leagues too. But
I'm fine with it as long as you give two options. One, the option to follow your local team only, which they do have an option to follow just one team only on the MLB app, BAT app, or two, there's no blackout restrictions.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
No blackout restrictions. That's the only way that something like this is going to work. But let's move on to hockey. A lot of hockey stuff. Blackhawks, a fantastic draft. Drafting Levshunov, the defenseman from Michigan State. They call him Artie the Sparty. His first name is Artem. And he is a fantastic Zdeno Chara type size defenseman. Really good defender of the puck, really good skater, can move the puck well, passes the puck well. And then a little bit of breaking news just a little bit ago, the Chicago Blackhawks also agreed to terms with TJ. Oh, God, I forgot his last name now. The defenseman, TJ Brody, the defenseman from the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, this dude is a phenomenal defenseman. A career, I think, plus is in the 50s as a defenseman, which is really good for a defenseman. Means that he's on the ice for a lot of goals and he's not on the ice for a lot of goals against. So that is huge for a defenseman. TJ Brody, even this past year, I believe, had a plus in nearly 20. I know in the mid-teens somewhere, something like that. So definitely will be a welcomed help for the Blackhawks. On top of Levshunov, on top of they drafted another forward later on in the first round. Not to mention going and reuniting with Teuvo Teravainen and going and getting oh God, I'm gonna forget his name now. I was talking to you about him earlier. Damn it, what the hell is his name?
The goalie?
Yeah, they added a goalie too, which was another really good signing. This guy had 15 wins, I believe, in 22 starts. The goalie that they got from was it from Columbus? Where was it from? Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now just so I have all the facts.
Teravainen.
Yeah, they said they signed Teravainen. They get Bertuzzi. That's who I was thinking of. Todd Bertuzzi. And then, just lots of great moves. I think the Blackhawks are spending money wisely. I think that they drafted well. I think that they did all of those things well. What is your take on the movement of the Blackhawks?
I mean, we wanted more defensemen, but I guess they just got one. So that was going to be my thing there. I mean, it looks like they're moving towards veterans. A couple of guys you named were 35, 36 years old, which will probably be good for the team. I don't mind it at all. I mean, I think they've done really well. I mean, I don't know if they needed really that much goalie help, but better than I do on that side of things. But definitely needed some defensemen. I'm happy to hear that because they were just dismal this year. I mean, they had some games where you turn them on. It was 6. I went to one game where it was 6-1. I was at the game really quickly. It wasn't even the third period yet. So
Laurent Brossoit is the name of the goaltender. They got him from the Winnipeg Jets. Also signed to Alec Martinez, the defenseman from the Vegas Knights. Joey Anderson, the forward. Craig Smith, the forward from Dallas. They've added a lot of talent around Connor Bedard. They've added a goaltender, and they're starting to add defense. This is a team that is starting to shape up really, really well.
At least you'll have some competition in training camp where they'll be at least better than one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. But we did so. We have an interview that I want to bring up. I'm trying to find it right now as we speak. So give me a second here.
Jeremiah says all guys from a winning culture.
Yes, that's another. I mean, that's a huge thing. Where is this? Hold on.
At Maroon. That's the other guy. He was the guy who was on with some of those Nashville teams when those tough Nashville teams that the Blackhawks couldn't get by, 12, 13 years ago.
Here it is. All right. So this is here on the Combs and Fitz Windy City. Hold on. So this is a interview with the hockey princess. Her name is Angela. She does a fantastic podcast. So why don't you guys sit back, check this out. Really good interview with Angela. And Sports Talk. We would like to welcome Angela, the hockey princess, to the show. She does a hockey princess podcast. Angela, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, no, not a problem. Thank you for coming on. The Blackhawks just had a draft and stuff, so I figured it'd be a perfect time to try to, cross brands with another podcast. And I came across yours. I think you do a phenomenal job on your podcast, talking hockey. So I was intrigued, and you were willing to do it. So thank you.
Always willing to talk about hockey.
Absolutely. So look, the Blackhawks just had a fantastic draft in my eyes, right? There was a lot of rumors. Chris Chelios was on 670 The Score this week talking about how he expected the Blackhawks to draft Demidov. I was firmly against that. I said it on our show last week. I really wanted Levshunov. I know Demidov can score a lot, but Levshunov is like a Zdeno Chara type defenseman. What were your thoughts on the draft?
I was thrilled. I was absolutely thrilled. I would have been okay with Levshunov or Demidov. I mean, my loyalty is definitely to Levshunov. I was fortunate enough to see him at the end of February up at Michigan State. Really like his game. Really liked his game going into the postseason. But I would have been okay with Demidov because what worst case scenario, we get a great Russian guy who can score. It was a win-win. But I'm very happy to see Levshunov get drafted by the Hawks. Already the party is ready for Chicago. Big fan of that. I really liked the whole draft in general.
Yeah, and look, there was for me personally, after they took Levshunov, I wasn't really done. I was kind of getting greedy, right? Like I was like, come on, trade back up. I wanted Zane Parekh as well. Like the kid, the defenseman that could score 97 points in a season. I want that guy too. And I really wanted them to do that. Obviously, that didn't happen. I believe he ended up going to Calgary. And so they miss out on him, but then they do take another forward. Kind of interesting to me that they went forward later on in the draft, considering they were so offensive heavy in the last draft. I was like, man, we're really shallow defensively, and Levshunov's great, but we need more. And they didn't really go and do that later on in the first round. What were your thoughts on that?
I was definitely not necessarily hoping that Kyle would trade up to get the defenseman, but the further that the defenseman, your Parikh, your Bouillon, your Sam Dickinson started dropping in the first round, I was like, oh, maybe one of them will be there. Probably not, but a girl can dream during the first round of the draft. I really like the Sasha pick, his style, I just like his game in general. He has said that he models his game after Yevgeny Malkin. A little bit. Sorry, there's a cat wanting to get in.
Yeah, you're fine.
Hi, buddy. There we go. I just like his style of game. It'll be interesting to see him develop in North Dakota going into next year. If we took a defenseman, would I be mad about it? No, but I'm pretty content with it. I know a lot of people were hoping that we picked Yzerman with as far as he was dropping. Nothing against the kid. I just didn't see him being or fitting into Kyle Davidson's vision of what the Chicago Blackhawks prospects were going to be. I will say,
and let's be honest, right? Like as hockey, I'm a hockey fan that grew up in the 90s. I don't want that name Yzerman on the back of a Blackhawk sweater. You grow up on two words as a hockey fan in the 90s, and as Detroit sucks. Yeah. And Yzerman was a big part of that.
Yeah. Well, it's different spelling. So it would be not nearly as bad. But I do think he's perfect for the Islanders because they really have no one that can put the puck in the net in terms of their prospect pool. But I'm okay with it. But if they took a defenseman, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I definitely am glad that we took the defenseman at number 2, just also because going into next year, it's so forward heavy. But I do agree with you. The prospect pool for defenseman is a bit shallow.
Yeah, it was a bit shallow. I know there's a lot of defensemen that are out there in free agency, and the Blackhawks have a ton of money to spend. I'm not certain, being a Chicago sports fan, I don't trust any front office to go and spend money in the right places because it seems to never happen with any of our sports franchises here. However, if there is one front office that I trust enough to put together something that can help them start winning again now, it would be the Blackhawks front office. Mm-hmm. And so for moving forward, moving into free agency, what do you want to see out of the Blackhawks? And what are you looking for? Who's somebody that you've got your eye on? Like, man, I really hope we get this guy.
I want Teuvo Teravainen to come back. Mainly just because he was one of my favorites when he was here the first time. But they need someone that can play with Connor right now. Most importantly, I do think that could be Teuvo, but if it's somebody else that could play with Connor, that's great. Connor needs someone who can play with him now. They can't be running the same line for the poor kid for an entire season.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's one of those things, like when you went to Blackhawks games this year, and I went to a few of them, and even my daughter, who is 16, she's really starting to get into hockey. She loves going to the games, and I see the excitement in her eyes every time that Connor Bedard touches the puck. You get on the edge of your seat because you know that something special can happen in that moment. And to be able to pair that up with a guy like Teuvo Teravainen, or reunions with former Blackhawks. Number 88 is out there, and he is my favorite player of all time. He's my favorite Blackhawk of all time. I would love to see it. I don't know if that's in the cards though.
I don't think it's going to happen. I would also love to see it. I was very, very sad when he left, but I don't think Kyle would bring him back.
Do you see them spending money on guys like maybe a Sam Reinhart, who's an unrestricted free agent, or in Jake Gensel? Both of those guys can play on the other side of Bedard and would probably be a good compliment to him.
Maybe. I don't think the Blackhawks have a problem with spending the money. I think their biggest issue is those guys want more than 2 years of their contract. And I don't know how far the Blackhawks are willing to go in terms of longevity of contracts, because everyone right now is kind of on a 3-year max. So I think, yes, we can spend the money. We can outpay every other team in the NHL, but is KD willing to give like a 5-year deal to somebody? I don't know.
Well, and now both of those guys are on the younger side, but there is a winger who's been pretty good throughout his career, who's a little bit on the older side. You might only have to give a 2 or 3 year deal to, and that would be Steven Stamkos. And that would be not only a veteran presence not only a veteran presence to be on the side of Bedard, but also a guy who could, lead this kid as he gets into his prime age.
Yeah, that would absolutely be awesome. And I think Stamkos is looking for a bit more money. I know there were rumors and rumblings throughout the weekend that he officially will go into free agency come Monday. Essentially, Tampa had offered him like an 8-year, $3 million deal, and he kind of felt disrespected by the amount of money, which fair. I think Steven Stamkos should be paid more than $3 million, especially from the team that you're the captain of. But that would be awesome.
So there's a few guys, and these are the guys that I definitely want to see the Blackhawks at least be named in talks with. And obviously Brandon Montour being the top defenseman out there. I would love to see them in there. Brett Pesce as well. I think that's how you pronounce his name, the kid from Carolina. And then the last guy I want them out there in contact with is Brad Sky, or Brady Sky, I think is his name. Where is he? I forget what team he played with last year. Was it Columbus or Carolina? It was one of the two. I can't remember which team he was on.
SKJEI.
Yeah, I always
Carolina.
pronounce it Sky because I can't figure everything else. I can't. I don't. Some of these hockey names, look, I'm very good with pronunciations. I do a lot of stuff. So I work for BetQL Radio. I'm a producer over there. So I interview a lot of these guys. And so I get close, like the Levshunovs. I can pronounce them just like that. But then this guy comes along and I'm like, Sky. That's what we're going to call you.
Yeah. He was with Carolina. Really, anyone that comes out that's a free agent of the Carolina Hurricanes roster, I'd be more than happy with. I'm a Blackhawk fan first, but they're kind of a number 2 for me. So I've got a lot of respect for the guys on the Hurricanes roster. If any of them make it to the Blackhawk roster, I'm completely okay with that.
Yeah, see, we have two different approaches, you and I. You're like, hey, let's wait and see. And I'm like, no, I'm the GM. This is who you're going to sign. This is who you better go spend your money on. And this is what we do here on Combs and Fitz Windy City Sports Talk. We tend to, not only do we, sometimes we'll relitigate seasons and be like, man, if this didn't happen, this would have happened. But we also tend to put on our GM hats and we go, hey, this is what they need to do. This is where they need to do it. And, we get kind of, caught up in some of that. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you get front offices in this city that treat their fan bases like they are a small market city. But I really do trust the Blackhawks front office to be able to get this right this offseason. And I expect the Blackhawks to at least contend for a playoff spot next year. Is that too much to ask?
I think so. I just want to not be top 5 for next year's draft. Is kind of where I'm at. I just want it to be a little bit better than this year because, man, towards the end of this past year, it was just so hard to watch. I would say maybe like 2 or 3 years I'd be expecting for some sort of playoff spot, especially with all of the young kids that I'm so excited to see in Rockford.
Yeah.
Once they are kind of comfortable in Rockford / making a bit bigger of a jump to Chicago, then I would think, okay, we're potentially ready to go. But who knows? They could sign like 5 guys during free agency, and then I'd be like, okay, so you expect to make it to the playoffs.
Yeah. So let's talk about your podcast a little bit here.
Mhm.
The Hockey Princess podcast. How long have you been doing it?
We just celebrated a year. We started beginning of June last year.
Okay. And now what brought that apart? Like, were you just like at the games and you're like, man, I really my voice needs to be heard. What brought it around? What made you say, hey, look, let's start a Blackhawks podcast?
I've always given too much of my life to focusing on the Chicago Blackhawks. Me and Crusty Old Guy is my dad, so it's a father-daughter podcast. We're nuts. We've always been nuts about the Blackhawks. That's all that we talk about. And so I was honestly watching a couple of the New Heights, the Kelsey Brothers podcast, once there were a couple of questions from Taylor Swift fans that made it on there of people not understanding football, and they were explaining aspects of football. And I was like, wait, there's got to be so many people who don't necessarily are new to hockey, especially with Connor coming to Chicago. Maybe they don't, they haven't lived and breathed it like I have growing up.
Right.
And so I just sent a text to my dad being like, should I start a hockey podcast? And he's like, absolutely, you should. And everyone's reaction was, how have you not been doing this for years? Because I don't stop talking about hockey really ever. It's year round. And so we kind of just started it from there. Just because I'd be talking about it really anyway. So now it's just a lot nicer to be talking to other people about it.
Yes. So normally when we do interviews here on Combs and Fitz, I tend to, because when we have athletes on, I want to draw that story out. Like, hey, something that happened in the locker room that just you normally don't tell this story, but I need that story. What I want from your end of things is, what is your favorite memory as a Blackhawks fan, whether it be a season ticket holder event, whether it be a meet and greet or whatever the case is. What's your favorite memory as a Blackhawk fan?
Oh, I've got two that are absolutely my favorite. First one was my first meet and greet, first player I ever met. Tomo Ruutu will be my favorite Blackhawk till the end of time.
Tomo Ruutu.
So yes, I celebrated the Florida Panthers winning the Stanley Cup. I finally got to see him win the Stanley Cup. He will forever be my guy. And I just remember, I think I was 5 or 6. He was in a boot. He hadn't come back from injury yet, but they were playing Vancouver, and his brother was there. And this is still when they were doing meet and greets out in the United Center lobby. And I remember being absolutely awestruck. I could not say any words to him whatsoever. I was just like, that's Tomo Ruutu.
That's awesome.
Tomo Ruutu was everything to me when I was 6.
So I'm I collect jerseys. I have most of my baseball. I'm a big baseball fan, and a lot of my baseball jerseys that I have are just rare names, things that you don't see people walking around with. My Angels jersey is a Chili Davis jersey. You know what I mean? So I have these off the wall jerseys. But I would have to say that if I saw somebody walking around in a Tomo Ruutu Blackhawks jersey, I would just assume that it's you.
It probably is, especially because mine is on the back. So when he got traded to Carolina, I was absolutely devastated. It was the first big trade that I had to experience as a kid. So I sent my jersey to Carolina in the hopes that he would sign it. So yes, it would probably be me, because on the back it says, to Angela, best wishes, Tomo Ruutu.
That's awesome.
My biggest prized possession.
That's amazing. I love that. All right, what's the second one?
Second one has got to be my favorite game, and I think the only time that I was sick of listening to Chelsea Dagger. But favorite moment where I was like, oh man, I'm really in this, was 2009, second round, game 6, the first hat trick came.
Oh,
There's the
yeah.
final. It was constant Chicago, Vancouver back and forth in terms of scoring. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is it. This is awesome.
Yeah.
You don't get better than this.
Listening right now, where they can find you, how they can find you, and when they can find you.
Yeah. So we drop episodes on a weekly basis. When we're, during the season, not during the season, weekly basis on Thursdays. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as YouTube. We take videos of all of our podcasting as well. We always encourage, other folks to come in and join us. We've had a couple of bonus episodes throughout the end of last season, and it was great. We're social media wise, we are on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. You can email us at thehockeyprincess@gmail.com. Find a social media platform and we're probably on it.
All right. So that was Angela, the Hockey Princess from the Hockey Princess podcast. Pretty fun interview, man.
Yeah. No, she seems passionate about and she could talk. Her recall on names is ridiculous.
Yeah, she's fantastic with names. Tuomo Ruutu is her favorite Black Hawk of all time. Tuomo Ruutu.
Really?
Yeah.
No. Hossa. I might go Hossa. Great interview, Fitz. Yeah, I think it's time. It's always good to fade off into the background when you're interviewing someone and giving them a platform, Jeremiah, where they can really show what they can do. He's an asshole.
He's Jeremiah. That's the best way we can describe him. But no, for everybody listening, definitely check out the Hockey Princess podcast, whether you're listening right now on YouTube, on Facebook, on wherever you're listening to right now, Twitch TV, or if it's Tuesday night and you're listening to us on the Badass Radio, go ahead and check out the Hockey Princess podcast. It's a father-daughter podcast. Pretty good stuff. She does fantastic work over there. So definitely check that out. It was a good interview. And as you could hear, because we did this interview yesterday and free agency started today, a lot of the names she was saying she wanted have already landed. And a lot of names that I was saying I wanted have not. So,
that's why she's the expert.
That's why she's the expert, and that's why we bring them on. So no, very, very good stuff there from Angela. But man, let's get into it, man. It's time. We are 10 weeks away.
It's my football music.
We are 10 weeks away.
America, fuck yeah! Coming again to save the motherfucking day, yeah! America, fuck yeah!
So we are 10 weeks away from NFL football. And not a playoff team next year, by the way, says Jeremiah Murray on the Blackhawks. Well, fuck you. We are going to break down the AFC East. We're going to go week by week. We're going to finish off every episode week by week, breaking down an AFC and NFC division. We'll go division by division until we get through all 8, which will bring us right up until about the time we have to make our Super Bowl predictions, our playoff predictions, and we should be beyond our the threshold of what are they, preseason football should be beyond by then, and we bring back the Wheel of Death.
No, boo.
You don't want to bring back the Wheel of Death?
I need a boo sounder.
You're such a vagina. But anyway,
As soon as I put this hot poker in my ass, I'm going to chop my dick off.
I don't know if any of those will be in the Wheel of Death. You'll have to watch and see.
AFC East, speaking of chopping your dick off, where do you want to start? Which team do you want to go with first?
Let's get the Patriots out of the way.
All right, let's get the Patriots out of the way. Yes, key additions: Drake May,
Archers,
Jacoby Brissett, Antonio Gibson, Jalen Polk, Austin Hooper, Caden Wallace, and Kyle Duggar. Not on that list because he was already on the team, is the tight end that they extended for another 3 years. And he will be their starting tight end, and as Hunter Henry. Key departures: Mac Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki, Trent Brown, and Mac Wilson. Now, when you look at those names, you're like, so what? Well, they weren't really good last year.
No.
And they didn't get much better. They did change head coaches. You're losing one of the greatest head coaches of all time in Bill Belichick.
Yep.
And you're going to Gerard Mayo.
And
It's
we'll
going to be
see.
interesting to see how Gerard Mayo runs this team. I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I don't know if he's going to be bad or good. He is a Patriot at heart.
It's strange. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say it's strange how this division was so bad for so many years, and the Patriots were the only good team for 11 division wins I don't think they were in a row, but pretty close to. And then now it's a pretty tough division, and the Patriots suck. But.
Yeah. and now I'm a big believer in Drake May. I like Drake May a lot. I think they got a hell of a quarterback there. I just don't know who he's going to be throwing the ball to. Drake May was my number 1 on my list, on my quarterback list heading into the draft.
I knew you were higher than him than me. I didn't know he was. I must have forgot you were. I don't listen to you all the time, so
yeah. I had May 1, Knicks 2, Caleb Williams 3.
Ooh,
yeah. So, but
have Jalen. Okay,
Jaden Daniels. No, I don't like. I'm not high on Jaden Daniels at all. He was like 6th on my list, actually, to be honest with you.
Well,
So,
we'll see. Okay.
The Patriots they do add Drake May. They do add Javon Baker, the wide receiver. So some decent additions. For me, this is a 6-11 team. I've got losses again. I got 2 losses to Buffalo, 2 losses to the Jets, a loss to Miami. They always tend to beat Miami in New England because they always get them in like December. So then you got losses to Cincinnati, San Francisco, Houston, the Bears, Indianapolis, and the Chargers. So I've got 11 losses for the New England Patriots.
Yeah, the only intrigue here is: are you starting Brissett to start the season, or what are you doing here?
I'm probably looking at what I have. I'm gonna have to watch the training camp, watch their preseason, and see how each one is playing. But if Drake May's ready to go, I'm probably just I'm putting him out there. I mean, there's no reason not to. I mean, I know people talk about development and maybe having this kid develop and sit for a year, but sitting a year behind Jacoby Brissett, what's that going to teach you?
6 is generous. Might be a 4-win team. They said they're starting Brissett.
Yeah. I mean, I could see a path where they're a 4-win team. I mean, the wins that I have for them are against Seattle because it's in New England. I've got a win for them against Jacksonville in London. And I think I have them beating Tennessee and Miami once and Arizona. So those are, I mean, I could definitely see 4 wins though, Jeremiah. I mean, you're not far off there. What do you have them at, Fitz?
I mean, I got them at 4 wins too. I just don't think this is going to be a good team. They could win 6. I mean, they have a good defense. They're going to have an above average defense even without Belichick there. They have talent on their defense. They do. That could, you never know which way the ball's going to bounce. So in between 4 and 6 sounds good to me, but this is going to be a terrible team. And it just shows you how different the Bears are from a lot of teams that had a top 5 pick and took a quarterback. Now the Bears are a better team coming in definitely this season than the New England Patriots are. For sure. It's going to be weird seeing the Patriots lose this much, but sometimes you have to have some lean years like this. So,
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
I don't know a lot about Mayo either, the coach, so that could be a complete disaster too.
Yeah, and look, you've also got to look at this for what it is. And Patriots fans, they don't like to admit that, but they're in a rebuild. They're in a full-fledged rebuild. And after 20 plus years of nothing but success, I mean, it's time, and it's okay. You're going to go through a rebuild. You're going to go through a process. You're going to be bad for a little bit, but you could get better because I think you got the right quarterback in that, and that's a lot of the battle, as we can tell you as Bears fans.
True.
All right,
True.
let's go with the Buffalo Bills.
Okay, the Buffalo Bills. Keon Coleman. We talked about that before. Before we get to the next name on the list, is added to the roster. So the Bills traded to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs ended up getting, and I forget his name again, the guy from Texas. But anyway, probably the fastest wide receiver in the league. Might be kind of a poor man's, receivers pass, but at least has the speed to catch up to the arm there. But yeah, I mean, Keon Coleman, I guess is pretty good. He was high on some people's lists, but also number 2 on that list is Chase Claypool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Curtis Samuel could be a great pickup. I mean, he had a good year with Carolina back in 2020, 2021. Didn't get a lot of looks last year, but I'm guessing he's your number 1 wide receiver, because I don't think you could have Valdez Scantling be your number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah, it's going to be bad for Buffalo this year. I'm not sold on Buffalo at all. They lost so many pieces. I mean, their entire secondary got depleted. Losing Jordan Poyer and Tre'Davious White, Leonard Floyd going, Ryan Bates, Gabe Davis, and then trading away Stephon Diggs. They didn't do anything to ease the pain of losing all these guys. I think that this is going to be a down year for the Buffalo Bills as well.
You gotta scratch your head here. I mean, it's Xavier Worthy from Texas, who did run the best 40-yard dash, but it's just like, I mean, what were they doing? They're trading to the team that they can't beat in the playoffs 3 out of the last 4 years. It's the team that they have to get by. It's the Detroit Pistons to the Chicago Bulls. I mean, and they trade him away. I mean, maybe they were really high on Coleman, but
they play a tough schedule, man, because yes, they get Arizona week 1. They probably start the season out 1-0 because I just think they're still better than Arizona. Then you got Miami. You might be doing 1 heading into this gauntlet of a schedule, but then you've got Baltimore, at Houston, and at New York Jets. Before you get Tennessee, Seattle, Miami, Indy, KC, San Francisco, the Rams, Detroit. I mean, this is a gauntlet of a schedule. I also have the Buffalo Bills at 6-11.
Well, I can't, not with that quarterback.
It's a quarterback, but he's probably going to be dead by week 6.
This guy's probably done more with less. If the Chicago Bears weren't in the league, he's done a hell of a lot with not much in years past. I know he's had some good receiver. Stephon Diggs is a great receiver. He's had a couple other, good players on the offensive side of the ball. They also lose Ryan Bates, who did start a lot of games for him last year, to the Chicago Bears, who was on their offensive line. I just think he's going to gut out some wins here. It's hard for me to have him at more than 8 wins, 8-9 wins.
With the edge rushers that this guy is going to be facing between Baltimore, Houston, the Jets, San Francisco, Kansas City, Detroit. I mean, I don't know that he stays healthy enough because they can't protect him. He doesn't have weapons that can keep him safe. I think it's going to be a down year for Buffalo. I really do. And I think that they're starting not a rebuild period, but a retooling period. And they're probably looking at next year or the year after before they're ready to compete again in the AFC East. I know, but look, the other 2 teams that we haven't talked about in this division are really, really good.
Yeah, true. I mean, we could go to them, but I just don't see a team just like being like, all right, yeah, I guess we're just going to lose for a season or just not be very good.
But
I mean, unless I'm not seeing something here, unless, maybe the GM wants the coach out. I don't know.
Did you not read the graphic that you made? Pull it back up and look at the subtractions.
I know it's.
I mean, Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer, and Leonard Floyd. I mean,
Leonard Floyd was good. Yeah, I wonder where they got him. Where he was
Dotson. Dotson as well. I mean, these guys were a huge part of that defense, and now they're gone. And that defense was already suspect to begin with. That was probably one of their biggest flaws was the secondary of this defense, and they let all of their good players go and replaced them with rookies.
Yeah,
That's why I don't see how this plays. I don't see how this team, who what were they last year? Would they have 9 wins last year? 10 wins last year? What were they last year?
11 wins last year. 11 wins.
So 11 wins
they
last
went
year.
7-2. Remember to end the season? Yeah, that's probably why you thought they had 9 or 10 because they were just.
Yeah, but with Stephon Diggs, with Stephon Diggs, that's with Jordan Poyer, that's with Tre'Davious, that's with all of these guys, and now you're without them. Josh Allen, he absolutely could win you 8 games by himself, but he could also get killed by having a 3 away games in a row, being Baltimore, Houston, and the Jets. 3 really good defenses, 3 defenses with defensive ends that could tear your quarterback apart, and you don't have an offensive line that can block for him. They haven't had an offensive line that could block for him for a couple of years now. And they didn't do anything to get better on the offensive line this offseason. So I really do. I'm down on the Bills this year, man. I'm thinking 6-11.
I don't know how ESPN has them. They're over under at 10.5 wins. I don't see.
There's no way.
I just don't see it. It's going to be a lot better division this year. I mean, other than the Patriots, that might be a loss.
I think they're going based off of the same thing that Jeremiah's going. They still have Josh Allen.
Yep.
But I
8 wins.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. Next up, let's do the New York Jets.
Yeah, New York Jets. They add Tyrod Taylor, Mike Williams, though. That's huge. That's a huge weapon for Aaron Rodgers. And they also add other. They draft Olu Fashanu. Malachi Corley was a great one as well. But for me, like Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses, I mean, they really beefed up that offensive line for Aaron Rodgers to protect him, and then added him a weapon like Mike Williams. I really like the Jets this year. The Jets, for me, the Jets win this division. I'm really high on the Jets. I have the Jets.
That's weird. I have them winning it too.
Oh, see, there you go. I just think, I think Aaron Rodgers makes a difference. I think a healthy Aaron Rodgers makes a difference, and I think that this division can be won at 11 wins, and that's exactly where I have the Jets. I have them at 11-6. I have them with 1 loss to the aforementioned Buffalo Bills, because division games you always split, but then. And they split with Miami as well, but the rest of their losses only come outside of the division.
They must have a softer schedule, right? Not as soft as the Patriots, but
it's not crazy soft, but it's not very tough. The out of division schedule, they do play the 49ers, but it's week 1 that they play the 49ers, and I think that in week 1 they could be better than the 49ers that game. So I actually have that as one of their wins. They also play the Titans. They play the Broncos. They play the Vikings, the Steelers, the Cardinals, the Colts, the Seahawks, the Jaguars, the Rams, and the Texans. That's their out of division schedule. So minus the Texans, I mean, every one of their out of division games is pretty winnable, minus the Texans. And you could talk about the 49ers. That's something that knocks them down, gives them 1 loss that I'm not counting on, but they could also pick one up later in the season that I'm not counting on either. They could very easily sweep Buffalo. They could very easily sweep Miami.
I don't see how this is not the most improved team.
Yeah.
Especially they don't have them on. I mean, and Jeremiah even says that those subtractions should just be additions, which Zach Wilson at the top of the list. Then you got Aaron Rodgers, who doesn't really have to listen to Nathaniel Hackett if he doesn't want to, just the way NFL offenses work. And he's pretty good at the line, man, changing plays. He did it with LaFleur in his last year in Green Bay, and they seem to do it pretty well. I think he's going to be another offensive coordinator there. If he's healthy, I don't see how they lose this division. I just don't, unless he's really bad. Which he had the thumb problem his last year with the Packers. He just didn't look like himself. I just don't see how they lose this. But
what do you have their win total at?
I have them at 12 wins. If they got a healthy Aaron Rodgers, I don't know how they don't win 12. They'll sweep the Dolphins or the Bills. I think. And when I bring up the subtractions on the Dolphins, you'll see why.
Yeah. I could see them doing either one of those 12 wins. You could even probably talk me into 13 with this team, to be honest with you. I think that they're that good.
This isn't going to be a team like he had with the Packers his last 10 years there, where the offense really has to carry the team. They had a couple of good defenses with the Packers, but they never really had that hard running game. They're going to run the ball up. This is going to be a defensive team. He's not going to be throwing the ball 45 or 50 times a game. I don't see that happening unless you do. I mean, I don't really I see them having a good balanced attack. I think that, when it comes to Breece Hall, I think is a very good running back, very underrated running back. But I also think that the addition of Braylon Allen, I think Braylon Allen is another guy who can carry the ball, 10 to 15 times a game. I think they're going to have a two-headed monster there between those two guys. So health is going to be the biggest concern. Health can turn this season around real quick, as we saw last year. If all of a sudden week 2 you're starting Tyrod Taylor, you're in trouble, and this completely turns this division upside down. And at least Tyrod Taylor is better than Zach Wilson. I mean, way better than Zach Wilson, I think. On to the Dolphins.
Dolphins. Jeremiah Murray says he has them as a 9-win team, though, the Jets. All the old men will get hurt.
All he's doing is looking at the ESPN. So the ESPN has the Jets at 9.5 wins.
There you go.
So I have them better than that for sure. And the Dolphins, I wouldn't call them a Bills story because they did add some guys who can make a difference, but I mean,
a lot of guys
they
actually
also were a really bad defense, and they got worse losing Christian Wilkins to the Raiders.
They did lose Christian Wilkins, but I mean, when you add Chop Robinson, when you add Shaq Barrett, when you add Jordan Brooks, when you add Kendall, I mean, they added a lot of pieces. But not only that, when you already add to a receiving core that was already one of the top receiving cores in all of the NFL, if not the top receiving core in the NFL, and now you add Odell Beckham Jr.
Is that
to this? I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. team, every team he goes on, he wins. Every team he lands with, he wins. Look, I know I'm not saying he's a number 1, but he is a really, really good number 3.
Yeah, you know what, he is, and he might not be able to run the way he used to, but he's always been pretty sure-handed. Now you're probably going to come up with a stat that he dropped a bunch of passes, but he can be, and he could be that guy on the team where he's your possession receiver.
Yeah,
if he has
Chop Robinson is leading in Vegas to win Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Jesus. And Shaq Barrett, he's the Shaq Barrett that intercepted Justin Fields because he sniffed out that the Bears were going to try a screen pass 3 times in a row on the goal line in Tampa.
And Jeremiah says they got the better Fuller brother.
Okay.
So I've got
Bear. Is that a shot at the ex-Bear?
I think so.
How does he know that they're brothers?
I don't
know. You know we were talking about the AFC East? The kid's got I worry about you sometimes, Jeremiah.
So look, with all of these additions, I think that they're a very good team. I don't think that they're as good as the Jets. They do play a little bit of a tougher schedule than the Jets, whereas their out of division opponents are going to consist of the 49ers, the Browns, the Texans, the Packers, the Raiders, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Colts, the Titans, the Seahawks, and the Jaguars.
Almost lost my microphone there. But yeah, I mean, here's my problem. They also, Vic Fangio was their coordinator last year. They're losing him.
Yep.
I mean, and rotating in defensive linemen, I think the Jets have the edge there, and I think the Jets offense might not be as good. I mean, this was the best offense in the league, if not the
most high-powered
best
offense in the league.
The big question here is he didn't hold out, but do you give Tua the big contract?
I mean, if he has another year like he did last year, you have to. If he has another year where he can stay off of the injured list and stay off a concussion protocol, you kind of have to. And he kind of proves himself to be maybe a younger Russell Wilson. When Russell Wilson was young, man, he was really, really good, and he was going to Super Bowls and he was winning Super Bowls. And so, yeah, for me, I have this team at 10-7. Where you got them?
I'd hate to agree with you again, but I got them around 10-7. They can even be 9-8. Yeah. I mean, I think one injury on offense, and who knows? Who knows if Tua gets hurt again? I mean, he's got to protect himself.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, one of these receivers go down and they're in trouble.
Yeah.
If Waddle goes down, they're in trouble.
Well, see, that's where I think the addition of adding Odell Beckham Jr. actually helps them out, because remember, they got that Berrios kid too. You know what I mean? I think that their depth at wide receiver is actually really good because of the addition of Odell Beckham Jr. You got Braxton Berrios, and Malik Washington is another one that a lot of people probably don't know the name of, but he's really good as well. He's very fast. He's got decent hands. So he's just one of those guys. He played at Virginia, and he's extremely fast, man.
Yeah, I think they had a stat where the top 25 fastest players in the NFL, 4 of them were on the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Either 3 or 4 of them were on the Dolphins. I'm pretty sure it was 4.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, I think that they've got a lot of depth at wide receiver. I think they could sustain a couple of weeks. And that's, I think, why they went out and got Odell Beckham Jr., so that they can sustain a couple of weeks of missing Tyreek. If he has another baby or something and has to go on paternity leave. Or
that's another. I mean, is his off-field struggles? What, do you have 4 kids last year?
Come on, dude. He don't care about his off-field struggles. He cares about catching balls, then afterwards going out and partying and having somebody else catch his balls.
And blaming his kids for burning down the house that his wife burnt down.
Oh, yeah. Clearly his wife burnt down. So just to recap, me and Fitz are both on the Jets to win the division.
We agree mostly, yeah.
Fitz has them at 12-5. I have them at 11-6. We're both dead on with Miami. We both got them 10-7, coming in second place. We both have Buffalo in third place. I've got them at 6-11, and Fitz has them at 8-9. And then I have the Patriots at 6-11, and Fitz has them at 4-12. We got the same order in the standings.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised you went Jets. I'm just shocked there. That was my thought going through this division. It's weird.
It's Rodgers, man.
A few hours beforehand, and I was just like going through this division just for whatever reason. Yeah, I mean, and that's a team that's ready to win, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be interesting. Next week we're going to do the AFC North.
Here we go.
AFC North. I think that's going to be a really fun division. That's going to be a hard one to pick. I think we might get some differences of opinions there on that one. Or maybe we don't. Maybe we just think too much alike.
No, that's not going to happen. I don't think so. The NFL season is coming, Combs.
It is.
It's going to be an interesting season for sure. I wonder who you're going to pick to win the NFC North.
Can you stop yelling at me, please?
No, I can't stop yelling, because that's how I talk.
Shut
was
up, Samuel L. Jackson.
My video of me and Fitz talking at Friends for Fitz.
You kind of had to half the time. There was music.
That's true. That's true. But we're going to get out of here. We've been on the air long enough. Most of you have probably tuned us out.
Yeah, we're at stab you in the throat depth.
But
now.
if you've missed any part of the show, you can check us out on Tuesday nights on Badass Radio, or you play back on YouTube, Twitch TV, Facebook, any of those places. You can always hit us up as well. Let us know if there's anything you want to hear us talk about, except for Jeremiah and Doubting Thomas. You guys don't need to message us.
He thinks Jeremiah thinks the Dolphins are going to pick up Dak Prescott. I don't know where that goes from. It's not the inside track. Someone came to him in his toilet.
Oh, God. Till next week, same bat time, same bat channel. We'll see you guys next week. Tell your friend.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no